Hi. Hi, Paul, and welcome to our
Hey, Lana.
mastermind. So nice to have you here. I must say, I was very impressed going through your CV, not only because of the content of the CV, but the way you so poetically put things at the end, which I have to read to everybody. But first and foremost, I just want to introduce you. So, Paul Malherbe is a highly accomplished business leader and mentor. He has been at the helm of a multinational organization headquarters in Europe, representing multiple African countries in more than 20 suburban African countries, and has spent 13 years at the coalface of SME financing and entrepreneurial mentorship in South Africa. You've addressed many distinguished audiences about SMEs, business development, and enterprise growth, and have been in conferences on this regard over 40 African countries. Above all this, you hold a master's in business and attended Harvard Business School on strategy and market leadership. Now, that's all amazing, but I just have to read this part of your CV because it's so beautiful. The accolades, travels, of the corporate acquisitions hold nothing to the beauty of a business vision when an entrepreneur finally opens the front door for the first time, giving life to a lifelong dream. The beauty of a brilliant mind, a protege, a friend whom you mentor and guide to unlock their potential and soar in their own confidence. Life is filled with beauty and harshness. Life and business center around people, how we treat them, respect them, recognize them, and through that change their lives and that of those around them, changing a living, which is just so beautiful and just really sums up. Is there an echo there for you, Paul?
No, all good.
No, okay, cool. It, okay. It really just sums up the work you do now as the co-founder, owner, and managing partner of the Alternative Board. And your position here is really poised well to speak to this group, which is a group of over 100 franchisors who come together to share ideas and learn from experts such as yourself. So without further ado, Paul, can you just tell us what you do at the Alternative Board?
Lana, thanks also for that introduction. The 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 principle behind the alternative board is always quite simply sum it up and say we want to expose business owners to conversations that they cannot have anywhere else for whatever the reason may be. And it talks to the way in which we approach business owners and some of what you read earlier on about business owners and the journey that they go through. I think that business owners are quite often marginalized, either from the corporate sector, and those of us that have come from the corporate sector, when you leave corporate, it's kind of like the corporate world looks down on entrepreneurship. It is the engine of the world, I believe. And the alternative board, as I said, we want to get business owners to have conversations that they cannot have anywhere else. And looking at a business owner, and we'll talk about the detail of it just now as well, looking at a business owner and say, but where are you going and what are you trying to achieve? And if that's a goal, if that's a vision that you have, how do we structure your company to get you there? Because we need to move out of the mindset that as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we work for our companies, we work for our businesses, then you become a slave to it. And what we try to do through our engagements at the alternative board is to get business owners to a space where the company works for them. How do we structure it? How do we design a business to take a business owner to the next level? It sounds simplistic, but it's not. It's a hard slog to get a business owner to look at their business in a different way as well, and then to have the structure in place to help them achieve that.
Yes. Can you tell us more about that structure?
Okay, so imagine. No, before you start, imagine who's our target client. We're looking at independently owned businesses, typically businesses that have been in existence for 3 years or more. Yet we have smaller businesses, younger businesses that we engage with, not really size specific. We cover a very broad range, and we can structure our engagement, because we can customize it. So if you imagine, a business owner that has got an opportunity or a challenge or something that's spinning through their mind that they don't have a space to have that conversation. We want to put those business owners of independently owned businesses, those the solid core entrepreneurs, we want to give them the same benefit, the same strategic advantage as CEOs in corporate environments have. So how do we do that? So imagine a monthly business owner peer advisory board. And I'm very careful in terms of phrasing that. Imagine 7 business owners that are non-competitive, first of all, that form a small group as peers to each other, that have a monthly meeting about very specific issues that they face. The same business owners every month have a meeting of a few hours where each of those business owners have the opportunity to discuss a challenge, an opportunity, something in their business, something personal about where they are at and what they want to do. Because who else is in the room? Other business owners. And I said this very respectfully. If you're not a business owner, I said this very carefully, you don't get a seat at the table. Because business owners have other conversations than managers and corporates have. So in the room, once a month, in a very structured fashion, business owners really act as each other's sounding board, as each other's trusted advisor, and sharing collective skills and experience to address a specific issue that a specific business owner around the table may face at that point in time. Another business owner sitting right next to him or her faces something different. So you've got multifaceted discussions about multiple different angles about different businesses, which does a number of things. First of all, it forces a business owner to think of their business in a different way, because there are now 7 of your peers around the table asking you questions. Ilana, this challenge, this opportunity in your business, have you thought about this? What about this? What about that? So multiple questions enhancing your thinking. Each of them with different levels of experience will give you advice based on what they hear you say, their understanding, and then helping you come to a commitment. Based on the conversation, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 things between now and the next meeting. So the moment that we are done with Ilana's topic, we move to Paul's topic or John's topic. So this may be an HR conversation or KPIs, or that may be finance or structure or whatever the case may be. Anything that you really can think of as a business owner, you either have engaged, encountered before, or you've got an opinion or some kind of conversation that challenges your thinking. So what we do is we get business owners to test out, sound out, get advice from each other, so that they can take better decisions. Because that challenge that you are facing right now with a key employee, a staff member, a partner, your funding, cash flows, whatever it may be, that challenge that you're facing may just be something that one of the other business owners already went through a month, a year, or 2 years ago. So by putting your topic, your challenge, or opportunity on the table, what we're able to do is we short circuit your learning curve, which means that as a business owner, you take a better decision. So once a month, we call it business owner peer advisory board. We have a board meeting like that. We run multiple boards like this, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. We have those meetings once a month, and in between we have what we call private coaching or business owner coaching, where we sit down with the business owner. We've got a really, really brilliant online proprietary tool called the Business Builders Blueprint. And with the blueprint, we really strip your business out like layers of an onion. And we can really get granular, so we help you in a structured fashion see where your business is and where the business needs to go. So there's a continuous interplay between a group conversation and an individual deep dive. And from the individual deep dive, you'll quite often say, you know what, Paul, this thing that we're talking about now, I wonder what my board would say about that. Immediately we get back into the board. And that collective conversation from a peer board, we have found, does 2 very, very specific things. The first one, it removes loneliness from the business owner. Because I don't care if you've got 100,000 rand business or R1 billion business, there's a lot of things spinning in the head of a business owner that you can't discuss with your wife or your partner or your business partner or your staff or whoever. Another business owner sees it differently. So we take away that loneliness of what's spinning in my mind, And secondly, what we introduce is peer accountability. Because next month, when you walk into the room and we have our peer board meeting again, the other business owners are going to ask you, Ilana, that conversation that we had last month, what did you do about it? Because it holds you accountable, and it also helps them to think of how to run their businesses better. So it's a great virtuous cycle in terms of conversations and elevated decision making and elevated implementation within businesses.
Right. And I love that structured approach. It sounds like you've been through a learning curve globally, and everyone there is going through a learning curve. And as you say, it's very lonely running one's own business. And also, how do you get past the pride of people admitting that they need help?
That's a really, really good question. That is one thing that people often ask, but how will I add value, or will there be value to me in the conversation? And one of the very first things that we see is, because it's a peer group in the room that have the conversation, there's a very strong level of mutual respect in there. We've certain ground rules, the way in which we engage, the way in which we have the conversations around the table. We call it our tabernos. It's an internal term that we use, charter, in terms of how we engage the conversation. And the interesting thing is that by the very large majority, business owners coming into the room very quickly drops their pretensions. All of a sudden, it becomes a raw conversation. When a business owner walks into the room and says, I have ... problem, I have this, that, and the next issue with a partner or with cash flow, whatever, I need your advice to sanitize my thinking, either to grow my business, either to expand, either to do a new business opportunity, or if I don't solve this issue, we will be out of business in 6 months' time. So the conversations are very, very very strong conversations in terms of identifying challenges and opportunities in business and moving forward. Now we need to think beyond ourselves in terms of how do we grow our businesses. It's fundamental to the power of one business owner, and frankly, as open as this. This is the topic, this is the conversation, and one business owner says to the other one, Ilana, I think that you need to step out of the way. You're the problem in your business, because you hold on to everything and anything. You don't have structure in place. You're stifling the business, you're stifling your team. And then in a structured conversation, Ilana or Paul says, oh, good advice, start implementing things. And 2 months, 3 months, 6 months later, the business has changed quite significantly. So it's a very, very powerful conversation in a very strong, trusted environment.
Very much so. And it really is, like you say, a safe place where people can voice their opinions. And, we don't like being challenged either. And this sounds like a platform where we actually ask to be challenged. And it's by those very challenging questions that it gets us to think on a different level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, everyone goes there knowing that they have a challenge and they're going to be challenged on the challenge, which is wonderful. Yeah. And there's going to be follow-up on how they deal with it.
Yeah, that's 100% correct, But, the interesting thing that we've also seen, Ilana, is that quite often we find that business owners around our tables are actually quite bullish. There's a lot of doom and gloom out there about the global economy and South Africa and so forth. And just by way of a few examples, over the last number of months at our boards, business owner comes in and says, but how do you feel about the future? I need to take certain decisions in my company. And by and large, everyone around the table was quite positive. So we started asking them, what are your plans for the year? And by virtue of 7 business owners around the table, we quickly established that there's in excess of 70 million rand of capital investment in their business going to happen in the next 6 months. And all of a sudden people say, well, it may be tough out there, it may be really tough out there, but as business owners, we need to take decisions on how we're going to go about it. Different conversation then in terms of, you mentioned just now challenges. We need to be challenged on our growth thinking as well. In 2 different board meetings that I participated in over the last month, business owners, in fact, 3 business owners in 2 meetings came in and said, looking at expanding, got the opportunity to buy another business, but I'm not quite certain, what about the skills and the knowledge and so forth. And after thorough questioning and conversation, a while later, the general consensus of the other business owners are, do it, look out for this, that, and the next. Do it. When I bought a company last time, this is what you need to look out for. And guess what? 2 of the 3 business owners confirmed within the next week that they'd actually proceeded in concluding acquisition conversations. On different scales. One is fairly big, the other one was not so big. But getting that affirmation by your peers is very, very strong. When other business owners say, "Well, if I were you, I would do it," and in fact, I did. That's kind of the packaging within which these peer board conversations sit.
Yeah. And you're saying 2 things. It's kind of business owners, the nature of the beast is for them to be positive. For one to own a business, one needs to have kind of an entrepreneur needs to have kind of a growth mindset. And also the fact that they are able to advise on a more macro picture, what is going on out there. Because one, not only in terms of the micro, what's going on in the business, but they're able to see what the trends are and what's going on out there, which is really, really incredible. I'm really inspired listening to you, and I wish there was more of this kind of thing, which maybe you can tell us about the more that you are doing in terms of how many of these you run.
So we brought the alternative board to South Africa at the end of 2018, my partner David and I. And the first thing that we needed to do is to establish the business in South Africa. That first thing, proof of concept. And we showed within the first year that business owner conversations are the same anywhere in the world. If you have a conversation in the US, it's specific to the US. We have the same in South Africa, specific to South Africa. So when we brought TAB to South Africa, we were the 20th country in which the alternative board operates. We're currently in 25 countries. We are the largest peer advisory board organization globally. Currently, we have about 500 boards like these globally that meet once a month. And to date, we've worked with about 32,000 business owners over a period since 1990. So in South Africa, as I said, our first goal was to establish our operations and ensure that everything runs smoothly and ensure that we've got a solid business. The intention and our business is built on a franchising model. So David and I obviously do certain of our client engagements ourselves. But about 3.5 years ago, we started ensuring that we have everything in place to run and set up our franchisees. We're very selective in terms of our clients. We believe all business owners should work with the alternative board, but we're selective in whom we engage with, and also selective in terms of our franchisees. So our franchisees obviously buy the intellectual capital from us, sub-license from the US, and we enable them to find clients, build these boards for themselves, collect business owners, facilitate these conversations. And as we start working with business owners, then it also allows us to do other value-adding work with them. We do certain team alignments with them. We've got a very powerful strategic planning tool that we use called StratPro. We don't believe in the long weekend to Sun City strat kind of a thing. People go away for the long weekend, and Monday when they're back, everybody remembers what happened at the bar on Friday night, but they don't remember the strat conversation.
Absolutely.
So for us, StratPro is a long process over half a year about, where we work very intently with the business owner and his or her management team to change the rhythm of the business. What's the vision? How do we align to the vision? How do we collectively take decisions in the direction of the vision that we're going? And then also, how do we execute those? So that's part of our value add, additionally to business owners, because they understand how we engage with the business owner first, and then the organization. How do we structure that business around the personal vision that business owner has as a client of ours?
Yeah, and what you're saying, the concept is really a franchisable concept. because they're global leader. Global challenges are the same, be it in Singapore, be it here, be it in the States. We're all facing the same issues. So that is a very transferable kind of concept. I mean, all over the world. Yeah.
I appreciate your observation on that. We believe that as well. And what we are trying to do in understanding that the concept and the principles are transferable, what we try very strongly to do is at two levels to ensure that both our clients, our peer advisory board members, or those consulting clients then, together with our franchisees, our franchise partners, are very much aware that we're part of a global organization. So at the franchising level, we have multiple weekly calls, almost daily engagements on the global level on how do we live the values that we have. We've got a community culture statement called Caliber. So how do we live a high caliber life? How do we add value to our clients? So that we believe empowers and enables our franchise partners to run their businesses better. Also from a global perspective, because you can be a tab franchise owner in South Africa, and on a Thursday evening, Thursday afternoon, you're on a global webinar where some of the best franchisees globally talks about these are the things that I've done and this is how I grow my business and these challenges. So drinking our own Kool-Aid. At the client level, I referenced our business builders blueprint earlier on. In the blueprint, we have a functionality that we call Tab Connect. We've got about 4,500 active clients at any given stage globally. And anywhere one of our clients, anywhere in the world, in any of the 25 countries that we operate in, can engage with any other business owner. As an example, a while back, one of my clients that's in the events business was thinking about expanding and thinking about how to do things differently. And through Tab Connect, I put the individual in contact with an events company in Dublin, an events company in Auckland, an events company in Las Vegas. So our clients sitting in the Joburg northern suburbs were suddenly engaged in conversations with two other business owners, three other business owners, literally spanning the globe and saying, tell me about your business. They will never compete with each other. Tell me about your business and what are you doing? What are you seeing happening? What are the challenges that you are facing? How do you overcome those? So we really want to build a global community where business owners are able to connect with each other, learn from each other best practice, and then implement it. And then you can take some of those learnings back into your own business over here and then go and test your board as well, which is in a different sector. So we really want to cover all of the bases on how a business owner can engage, not just in a one-on-one conversation or in a group conversation, but also using a system and technology that spans the world in terms of adding value to their businesses and their decision making. Doesn't matter where you're located.
Mm. I mean, you guys have really taken networking to a whole new level with your board meetings and global exposure. It's really something I believe is needed for every single business. Having that exposure, firstly, and getting that input is invaluable. Tell me something in terms of that. How many franchises do you have at the moment?
In South Africa, we are currently at, I think, about 13, 14 franchises. I think we're 16 facilitators in total. We've only been doing it for about 3.5 years on the franchising side. And once again, we are very selective. I always say that we're not the franchise coffee shop that wants to have a coffee shop on the corner of every suburb. We are not that. We're very selective and we are very mindful of ensuring that we have a very consistent growth, but at the same time, we are now even enhancing the focus that we have on our existing franchisees. How do they get value from us as a system? That's the thing of a franchise system. First and foremost, as the franchisee, it is your business. It is your responsibility to run your business like any other business. But from a franchise network and a franchise system, we've got the tools, we've got the methodology, we've got the processes. When we sit down with our franchisees and look at each of our franchise partners and say, what's your plan for this year? Because as a franchisee, you're a business owner. We drink our own Kool-Aid. Every year at the beginning of the year, every year at the end of the year, for our own franchisees, we sit down, they together with us, working with them through that. So, well, what happened this past year? What's the plan for the new year? How do we move to each of our own individual personal visions as well? Exactly the same as any other business owner out there. So we need to, we need to live the way in which we support our clients as well.
And do franchisees have their own trade area? How are they allocated clients? And do they facilitate for others, or do they facilitate only for their board groups?
Yeah. So the model that we employ in South Africa is not going back into the history, but we have removed in the larger areas, we have removed internal boundaries, like Gauteng, for example, or the economic active part of the Western Cape, the same for KZN, where we initially had franchisees in certain portions of Gauteng, for example, certain part of Johannesburg or Pretoria. But we found that our territory and our operations, the footprint and the level of activity isn't as big as New York, for example, or Houston for that matter. And what we have then did is we said, but let's open up the internal boundaries. So our franchisees in Johannesburg and Pretoria have the whole of Gauteng as their hunting ground. But, we are creatures of habit, and as creatures of habit, we like having things closer to us. So we know that our franchisees ideally target businesses and business owners that's within their own close proximity. If you are a franchise owner in the west of Johannesburg, for example, you don't want to have a client necessarily in the far north of Pretoria, just not practical. So we often find that our franchisees that pick up specific clients would phone somewhere else and say, here's somebody that's closer to you. Maybe it's somebody that you would be interested in. So it also talks about who our target client is. We are selective. As I said, we believe that all business owners should be exposed to the alternative board. But it doesn't mean that we work with all business owners, and it also doesn't mean that we group all business owners together. For example, the situation I cited earlier on in terms of an acquisition or team structure with KPIs or marketing, for example. If you have business owners that say, let's say they sit in the 10 million or the 20 million turnover range or the 5 million turnover range, the marketing conversation that they have is very, very relevant to the size and complexity of their business, which is different than business owners that sit in the 400 or the 500 million range. Those guys typically have a marketing manager or a marketing director. So their conversation is strategic in nature. So what we try to do is simply put horses for courses, where when we engage with a prospective client, a business owner that's interested in working with us, we've got a very structured process where we engage with them to try and understand their business and understand what the challenges are, and also have a conversation with them on how we can change it. How do we take your business from where you are now to have a business that will afford you the life that you're looking for? I always say to business owners, picture your life 5 years out. What must the life be that you want to live? Now that you've got that picture, what must your business be like to get you there? And in that conversation, we understand the size, the complexity, some of the structural issues in the business, and also those unspoken cues, the things that are more of an art than a science. Then we're able to say, but this business owner would actually fit really well with this group of business owners in a specific board or another board. I think we currently have about 16, 17 boards running in South Africa at this stage. The number's grown significantly over the last year due to our franchise growth. And therefore we want to always be in a position that we can look at you as a business owner and say, well, maybe a little bit linked to the location, a little bit less to the location, level of complexity and those kind of things. Here's the best group for you. Here's the best peer board that you would find the best value in.
Right. And you limit the number of members, I would assume, of each board.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a fine balance also. We try to have business owners in a board between the number of 4 and 10. We believe the sweet spot is around about 7 business owners around the table because it gives you sufficient time to delve into a specific topic, and it also gives you a sufficient variety of people around the table. And the interesting thing is that somebody observed a while back that if you have let's say a 4-hour board meeting and you have 1 or 2 formalities around this and you have 7 business owners around the table, it's like half an hour, 35 minutes for my topic.
Yeah.
Is it really worth my while? Then the same business owner walks out 4 hours later and says, geez, I didn't know I need to concentrate for 4 hours because my topic was done. I got all my advice. And now I'm listening to what Ilana's going through and her opportunity, whatever. And if I blink, I miss something. And I realize that what she's going through, I need to put in place now to prevent me from being punched in the face and something similar. So the collective conversation, decision making, accountability far exceed the time slice allocated to your specific topic because there are a number of other people where you are now their trusted advisor, which puts it once again to your question about confidentiality in it. A very, very strong relationship in terms of I expect of you to give to me what you expect of me. It's that's why we are peers in the room as business owners.
Right. And a franchisee, do they have access to how many boards? You mentioned there are about 16 across the country. So each franchisee, do they say have one board each? How does it work even financially for them? And do they have other, you just mentioned the coaching. Do they have other means of charging clients?
Yeah. Look, our franchise model in South Africa and globally is based on the fact that this is a full-time engagement. It's not a hobby. We believe that our franchisees can make an executive level income by virtue of running a tab board. And beyond the tab board, there's extensive coaching opportunities, Strat Pro as a strategic process, and so forth. So we believe that a franchisee can relatively comfortably, without working themselves to a standstill, manage 3, maybe even 4 of these boards. And once they get to a point, so that will immediately tell you around about anything between 18 and 25 members is really, or clients obviously as members of those boards are reasonably manageable. But our franchise model also allows you as a franchisee to bring in what we call contract facilitators. And a contract facilitator does exactly the same that a franchisee does, works within a franchisee's license. So it allows our franchisees to build a scalable model. If you are the franchisee and you have 2 or 3, maybe 4 of these franchise contract facilitators working under your license, it means that you as a franchisee are able to utilize their time within your franchise license and generate an annuity income for you as well. I mean, it's not a pyramid system where you have.
No, I understand. It's a master sub franchise. It's a very well used model.
Yeah. So we believe that model is very solid. And what it also does is it takes the franchisee, if they decide to pursue that route, it takes them to own their own, let's call it respectfully, mini consultancy business. Because if you have one of our franchisees is heading in that direction now, got a franchise license and about to get a 3rd, maybe a 4th contract facilitator into his business. And
so
each of those,
do you have to approve of each of those facilitators?
Yeah, we do that.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, so we do approve those, and once again, we're happy that everybody that's coming in is of really high caliber, and in that specific instance, by virtue of the background, the experience that each of these contract facilitator is likely to bring into that specific franchise business, it enables the individual also to focus on certain strategic activities for clients, certain team and coaching and activities, or other things that they may be able to focus on. So it enables our franchisee to build a scalable, equity-based model that is saleable at a future date as well. Because we believe that all principles that apply to normal businesses out there must also apply to our business.
Yeah, and that makes absolute sense. I mean, to expand the model, it's like you say, they have got their own consultancies, and it really allows a much bigger picture and a much bigger opportunity than owning just one franchise as a standalone.
Absolutely. It goes to our philosophy of helping them to build a business to achieve their own personal vision as well.
Yes.
Once again, it doesn't matter whether you're a franchisee with any brand whatsoever. There's a reason why you own a franchise. There's a reason why you have a business. There's a reason why somebody is in corporate. They've got a personal vision, and the work or the job or the role or the business that they've got help them to fulfill that. Some want to be entrepreneurs on their own, some want to be franchisers. And we believe the same for us as well.
And it sounds like your culture is really one of growing businesses on so many levels.
Now we believe that that we have to work together. I referenced Caliber earlier on, which is our community culture statement, and it's obviously an acronym where each letter stands for something, and the first letter is C, and for us C is about community. We really want to build a strong community where we have strong franchisees. Also, coming back to your question about how they operate, we've spent extensive time and resource in terms of understanding the business consulting, the coaching market in South Africa, especially in the larger centers, so we know what a tipping point would be in terms of marginalizing our franchisees. We are very far from that. So we know that to have a healthy franchise network and a very healthy number of franchisees in South Africa, where the tipping point will lie, we will not expand and bring more franchisees in. We'd much rather have a smaller number that's really strong and healthy than people cannibalizing each other, because that will go against our culture and our value statement.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense and definitely adheres to best business practice when it comes to franchising. Before I let you go, just a couple of questions. How do fees work? Do they pay a royalty? Do the franchisees pay a royalty back to the franchisor?
Yeah. So obviously this is a business run on business principles. And one of the key approaches that we have and the key philosophies that we have is that our franchisees buy from us a TAB franchise not to be stuck in admin. Nobody buys a business like ours, a franchise opportunity like ours, and say, well, yeah, I'm going to do some admin and some paperwork. So one of the things that we do, we remove probably the absolute majority, almost, at least a significant amount of admin from our franchisees. We've got a number of online systems that we use. We have centralized all of the billing, all of the invoicing, all of the collections. So clients monthly pay all of their dues to TAB South Africa. We've got a great system that we cross the T's, dot the I's, do all of the calculations, and that we then, after we have accounted for royalties and some of the admin charges that we've got, we're able to pay our franchisees. And what's different in our model as well, it's a global practice, and we implement it in South Africa as well. Our clients pay in advance. So our clients pay us a month in advance for the work that they do. And the reason why we're able to do this is because none of our clients globally are locked in long term, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that just now. So when our clients pay in advance and we do the accounting on our side and the balancing of the books, we literally pay our franchisees the money a month in advance. I mean, it's the beginning of the month now, and within the next few days, our franchisees will have the money in the bank for the work that they will still be doing during the rest of the month. So that's important for us, that we have, once again, solid business principles. But if we take the money conversation to our clients as well, we are very, it's a fine line between being confident and arrogant, but we believe that we're very confident about the value that we're adding. Our global statistics mention that. So whenever a client engages with us, as a standard practice, we have something that we call a performance guarantee. And the performance guarantee is quite simply this. If you start with us at TAB today, and we agree on day one what the 90-day goals are, certain things that you want to achieve over the first 90 days of your engagement with the alternative board. And we get to day 90 and we haven't added value to your business, we refund you your money, no questions asked. If we don't add value to the business, we don't want to keep your money.
Yeah.
We are very confident in that. Our global repayment on that number is less than 1%. So we are confident that we will be adding value. Once we move beyond the 90 days, for all of our clients in South Africa and globally, our TAB engagement is always on 90 days. Neither of us want to be locked into a long-term engagement if there's a risk of not adding value in the future. And remember, that goes both ways. As a client sitting in one of our peer boards, you're expected to add value to the other business owners in the room because you're a peer. If there's a disconnect or there's a disproportionate value add by a member in the board to the other business owners, it also gives us the opportunity on a 30-day notice to say, well, maybe we need to try something different, change the type of engagement, or if worse comes to worse, to say to a business owner, but we don't think it's an engagement that we can continue.
Yes.
So it keeps us in a healthy balance, the fact that we've got a nice short-term engagement. And in spite of that, Ilana, our global client retention is 5.2 years. The doors open, our clients can leave, yet they stick around over 5 years because of the value that we keep adding.
Sure. Well, that's really testimony to a job well done. Do you have a contract with the clients that they've got to sign that they're in it for at least, say, 6 months?
Nope, 30 days. Every client, only a 30-day engagement. Only 30 days. So when we engage,
again,
it's also why we want to be selective with them, and I'm mindful of using the word too much, but it needs to be a business owner that is that adds value. My wife often says, you've got to have an open spirit, and you've got to have an open mind in terms of the value that you're giving as well as that you're adding. And ultimately, our clients are business owners that say, I want to move forward. Now, I'm here, I want to move, but I don't necessarily know where to move or what to do. Hence, a deep dive one-on-one engagements with them, and then also the peer advisory boards that help them sanitize the thinking and the planning.
It sounds like a model that really has worked and has stood the test of time. And as we always say, the whole is better than the sum of the parts, and that really applies to your business. Paul, I'm not going to keep you much longer. I just want you, maybe you can just tell people how they can reach you both if they want to become a client or a franchisee. If you could just give your details.
It's really simple to reach us. Our website is thealternativeboard.za.com. It's the easiest to get a hold of us there. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, well, we're on X. But the easiest would be to go to our website, thealternativeboard.za.com, send us an email, and either myself or David, my partner, will engage with you. I'm happy to have a conversation about any franchising or in terms of business owners that's looking for a conversation. We've got a footprint almost covering the whole of the country now. Great representation down in the Cape, all across Gauteng, down in the South Cape, down in Eastern Cape, hopefully soon in KZN as well. And we're able to support clients anywhere in the country. So quite simply, once again, the alternativeboard.za.com, easy as that.
Wonderful. I thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. And it's just really enlightening and heartening to hear about a business that works and a franchise also that can take on that model and be really workable. Those are the kind of things we need in this country as well. So I thank you for that. And thank you to everybody for joining our mastermind group, all the franchisors and all the listeners out there that really learn from experts and captains of the industry, such as Paul. So thank you once again, Paul, and we look forward to hearing more about the Alternative Board and the wonderful work that you do.
Thank you, Lana. It was a great time to spend with you having this conversation. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, and thank you. Thanks again, and thanks to all the listeners. Cheers.